Welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. Today we are going to start the driver's side quarter panel for the 32 Roadster. We did a separate video on how to make these subframe extensions. We have the Brookville ones here. I've just positioned it in on this side. It's not welded in place yet. That final fit will come when I have the quarter panel assembled here. As I mentioned in a previous, watch out camera lady, you're going to bang into that. This particular quarter panel has some issues with it. There's like little tiny picks and dents in here. We're going to set this up over on the English wheel here in a couple seconds and try and roll it out. But I need to roll that out as best I can before I assemble the driver's side quarter panel. There doesn't seem to be any other issues with it besides that. The other quarter panel, I had to make a repair in the corner and retrim this, but on first glance, really the only thing that seems to be wrong is those picks that are in that side that we're going to clean up. So that's our attempt at English wheeling this panel. I wasn't too aggressive with it because I just wanted just enough tension to take the high and low spots out. I'm going to buff this panel up and take a look and see how it looks, and if necessary I'll repeat the process again. I don't want to stretch the metal too much or change its shape. I just wanted to get those high and low dings out of there. Still don't know what caused it, but I mean that's why it was a second. You know, can't really feel anything there, but I think once I buff it, I'll see what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. I carried on with assembling the quarter panel because after I buffed the other side, all the little picks and dents, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I just didn't like the little picks into it, so buffed it out. Looks good. Can't see any high or low spots. So carried on. Welded the B-pillar in plus the brackets just like I did in the previous episode for the passenger side. I didn't really want to cover that again. If you're curious, take a look at the other video before this. This is the driver's side. So rails welded in, supports welded in, B-pillars welded in. Someone asked me how I lined up this back panel here. So a couple things. You want to line the back panel. Actually, I told the camera lady to go on this side. Now I need her over on the other side. I'll show you how I line it up. Real estate is unfortunately at a premium here. To line up the back panel, essentially this this section here has to be smooth. You've got to line up the body lines here. And then this section here actually dips down. It's got to be at the same level of this side of the quarter panel so that this body line basically sticks up an even amount on either side. So positioning this way is to line up the back of here, and then positioning it this way gives where the position is. Now I'm going to drill the holes like I did on the other video through the quarter panel. The other thing, to line up the drip rail, what you do, I have to line this part of the drip rail up so that the back half of this drip rail meets up with the back of here. How do I know that? I've got a bunch of pictures of other Brookville Roadster bodies, as well as my own. A friend of ours went to Brookville and they took a bunch of pictures, so I've got those. I can basically cheat for the way that they assembled them. But essentially, the back of this side drip rail lines up with the back of this drip rail that's going to go in later. So that's how I position this. Brookville has all the jigs and stuff. I basically have to go off the pictures. But given that this is the fourth one and they all went together, I'm on the right track here. So going to carry on, do my little holes here, do my little spot welds to put this in place, drill the holes here, and then we'll carry on with the assembly, eventually putting this onto the Roadster body. I carried on welding all the pieces to the quarter panel here. The drip edge is all welded in. I've got this bolted into place. What I did, I took the quarter panel, then I put it on the side of the vehicle. There's a block like I talked about in the other video before this. I put a block there that I can use to basically tip the quarter panel up and down this way. Down in this corner, the B pillar actually just right there, you can see it gets pushed into the subframe. I just put a clamp onto it. And what you do is basically put this in place, pivot it up and down until you've got the right gap on the door. And the right gap on the door is when the striker plate, like there's a striker plate. I did have to trim that one up like the other one. Like when you get them, you've got to trim them. They won't fit. So there it's in place. And then it's a little tight, so I got a little bit more adjustment to do, but it goes in place. My body lines are in alignment. I've got a clamp down here just basically holding it in place, the sheet metal to the inner and the outer. So I'm at the stage now where I'm going to tack it in place here, tack it, drill some holes here and tack it in place there. Over on the other side here, because I left this top panel bolted onto the quarter panel, so when I tipped it up, I then put some loose bolts here in the pre-drilled holes, and then the drip rail here, I simply just slid it in and pushed it down. So these actually have to, right here, you see I bent the edges in so they fit. I'm going to crimp those back up. I'll weld these here. I'll tighten these bolts up. And I'll finish the video off with basically the B pillars welded in place, the sheet metal welded to the subframe, and basically that's it for this video once I show you that. The quarter panel now is welded in place. The drip rail is welded in. Everything's tightened up. The back panel's in alignment. As I talked about earlier with the back panel sits at the same level as the quarter panel here, so it sticks up an equal amount. They don't perfectly align here. Seen that on every one of the Brookvilles. I'm probably gonna have to do a little bit of metal work here. That's completely consistent with all the other ones. These pieces here for the roof were welded in place. I didn't mention them before when we assembled the quarter panels because all the other ones I did before actually didn't have them. So this is to put the convertible roof on it. The other thing I did when I put this in place was I finished fitting the doors. So I put the catches on, the striker plates on. Now the striker plates basically come with the striker plates as I described. You've got to You've got to blend it here and blend it in the pack so it fits here. On the back, there's just screws. So what I did, I just took a piece of 3/16 inch plate here. I cut a piece out and then I just drilled and tapped. I think it's quarter 28 is what these are. So basically drilled a plate with quarter 28 holes into it. And that's what goes on the back here. So these can be loosened up and they can be adjusted a little bit because the hole going through is slightly oversized. You want a little bit of adjustment there. So both doors right now, they open and shut. There is a final alignment that has to be done later as far as it going, like the body going this way. There's a structure we typically put in behind the seat here that holds everything together. When that's done, which I'm going to cover in an upcoming episode, there's these feet that actually have to they'll get welded in here that finally ties in the B-pillar, but that's not part of this episode. I'm going to cover that. Like I said, I'll put there's a pan that goes in the back, and as well as the feet that go in. So that's on an upcoming episode. Around the back here, to finish this episode off, the sub-rail extensions here are tack welded in place, and I started to tie down the back of the floor. So that's basically the end of this video where we've got the 2 quarter panels on. We're at the next stage of assembly, which is going to be the whole back section here, the lower panel. There's a lot of parts that go into doing that. So that's going to be an entire episode next week. There's the panel there. I'm going to go through probably making one and how to put it on, plus all the structure that goes in place. I think there's probably 10 or 12 different pieces that have to be assembled there. So that's it for this episode. Both quarter panels attached. It's starting to actually look like a 32 Roadster now. Doors open and shut, catch in place. So we're well on our way here. So any questions, send us a message. Hope you like. Please subscribe and share. Everybody take care. Thank you.